documentary finally came out. And your boy's in this.
Put your hands together for the next mayor of New York City, none other than
If you had to choose 3 words to describe Momdami, what would they be?
Relentless, positive, and visionary.
Good afternoon, Harlem.
Smug, phony, arrogant.
How you all doing?
Radical, extremist, dangerously inexperienced.
Energetic, positive, enigmatic.
The first thing I wanted to say was 34-year-old Muslim socialist.
Describe Momdami in 3 words.
I would say New York City.
New Yorkers have chosen Zoran Momdami to be their mayor.
My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
His meteoric rise from an unknown assemblyman to frontrunner in the mayoral election was propelled by his promise to make life more affordable for everyday New Yorkers.
We are an existential threat to a broken status quo that buries the voices of working people beneath corporations.
To achieve this, he said he would freeze rents, make buses free, and offer universal childcare.
What he's calling for is not that radical, and more importantly, it's something that a lot of New Yorkers really, really want.
But to pay for it all, he said he would impose a new tax on New York's wealthiest residents, earning him a powerful coalition.
Pre-watch this. This was good. It's so funny because, like, all of this stuff, I shot so much stuff like this, and everyone wanted to talk about the Zoran potential victory, right? And I don't remember what I was saying in it, but like you'll probably hear that I'm being very careful with my language because I'm like worried that what if it doesn't happen, you know? There's always failure until it always seems impossible until it's done, you know?
Enemies that includes real estate interests, billionaire hedge fund managers. Why do you find Momdami so threatening?
Well, I mean, I think socialism is not good for New York.
And one of New York's most famous exports.
He's a communist. We're going to go to a communistic state. That's so bad for New York.
In this episode of Fault Lines, we go inside the race for mayor of New York City, a campaign that went beyond New York to the very future of the Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party is very good at not letting people into the tent who are going to be genuinely troublesome.
And what lies ahead for the new mayor of New York.
Let's be clear about the forces he's up against, and let's be clear about how unethical and rapacious and powerful they are. This story's not over. These people play for keeps.
This is bigger than Zoran. You can use that as a title if you want.
It's true.
Just over a month before the mayoral election, we joined a group of New Yorkers marching against rent increases.
The richest city of the richest country in the world, and our standards of living for a lot of us ought to be much higher. A lot of Americans live without dignity. Poverty is so punishing in America.
Behind the protesters is the mayor's residence here in New York City. It's called Gracie Mansion. Eric Adams is there for a few more months. One of the legacies of his term here as mayor of New York City was that he allowed the rents to be raised every year.
New York's rent stabilization.
Scumbag. Fucking scumbag. Just remember, he literally could have had that rent adjustment board refuse to raise rents, for the record, and he just never did.
System gives its mayor an unusual amount of control over the city's affordability.
In New York City, City, over 2.4 million tenants are rent stabilized. So under Eric Adams, our current mayor, rent has gone up for a total of 12%. We raise our rent every single year. Unsustainable, like regardless of, the rent going up, like people just can't afford rent right now.
That bothers New Yorkers who every month they get paid and they have to pay rent, groceries, transportation, childcare, and every month they get squeezed even more.
I grew up in the city. I was born in 1980. There used to be a middle class in New York.
Oh, shit! Spencer! No way!
Rent, groceries, transportation, childcare, and every month they get squeezed even more.
I grew up in...
That's my goat. That's the man, dude. Spencer Ackerman is fucking fantastic. Fantastic reporter, fantastic journalist. I've had him on the show before. It's very cool.
In the city, I was born in 1980. There used to be a middle class in New York. In my living memory, that's gone.
I just lost a tooth this morning eating a bagel. Oh, no. So, it's going to cost me a couple of $1,000 now to have an implant and everything put in. I'm 77, I'm on a fixed income. Choice between that and food and paying the rent, it's getting hard.
So housing affordability is the top issue for New Yorkers. And Zoran Momdami had a very, very clear answer to us for what he was going to do about it.
We are going to deliver a 4-year rent freeze for more than 2 million New Yorkers across the city.
Zoran Momdami was an unlikely frontrunner in New York City's mayoral election. A democratic socialist in a field of establishment Democrats, he ran on a platform of progressive policies that he claimed would make life more affordable for New Yorkers.
I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
Momdami's populist economic message in a period of rising inflation and diminishing economic opportunities resonated with New Yorkers and with Americans across the country.
Even if you weren't following the race, if you were just a person of a certain age on the internet, you were seeing him everywhere.
His message went viral on social media, and within months of announcing his run, he'd become a national figure.
What put him on the radar was this man-on-the-street interviews with New Yorkers about why they didn't vote for Biden and why some of them were like Biden to Trump voters.
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump would give them that.
They gave answers to him that didn't really have a lot to do with MAGA and didn't have a lot to do with Trump.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely.
They had a lot to do with how Democrats have been in power and their lives have only gotten less and less affordable.
And I'm going to be running on that platform.
You would think that many politicians would think to simply ask their constituents what they want and then design a campaign around those issues. But it did feel very novel and refreshing and hopeful.
While he was unknown outside of New York, Momdami had been steadily building a broad coalition of support as a state assemblyman.
It's not a question of how, it's a question of if we have the political will.
Momdami is a member of America's largest socialist party, the Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA. There are now 250 DSA members who have won elected positions at local, state, and federal levels, representing a system that until recently has been largely unpopular in the U.S.
I think America... Okay, to be honest, if you try that in Texas, the answer would be terrible. What? No. Localize. Localize the needs. Adjust the policies to the fucking needs of the constituents. Americans have never understood what socialism or communism is in general. They just feared it.
But after, 30, 40 years of neoliberal politics, the promise of trickle-down economics, Reaganism, hasn't come to bear. And on the other end, you become increasingly open to alternative systems, and socialism is right there.
As an assemblyman, Momdami was outspoken on Israel's genocide in Gaza,
How we doing?
using his position in Albany to advance this cause.
Are we ready to end New York State's subsidy of settler crime? Yeah!
And joining the growing protest movement against Israel in New York. On October 23, 2024, Momdami announced he was running for mayor.
All of those young people in New York, huge protests with like tens of thousands of people that go largely uncovered by the media, those are all people he was able to convert into voters, and 50,000 of him he was able to convert into volunteers.
He was already working on the method that a lot of people on the left had been talking about, as far as identifying exactly what people were struggling with, and then just only hammering in those policy positions, those policy prescriptions to the issues that they were facing.
And the polling shows that in New York City and beyond, people's opinions on what's happening in Gaza has shifted. And I think the affordability ties into that. Because when you see a Republican president cutting Medicaid, firing federal workers, we continue to send billions of dollars to Israel, people get mad at that. They see that there's money, it's just not going to them.
It was a stark contrast to his main opponents at the beginning of the race, incumbent Mayor Eric Adams.
So this is not a city of handouts. This is a city of hands up.
Republican Curtis Sliwa.
Everybody knows that Andrew Cuomo is a fake, phony, fraudulent fugazi.
And Andrew Cuomo.
We need someone who knows what they're doing on day one because your lives depend on it.
A three-time governor of New York who resigned in disgrace in 2021.
The report said I sexually harassed 11 women.
I think everyone presumed Andrew Cuomo would win the primary.
Do we have working men and women in the hall tonight?
That's who he represents. That's him. That and himself. No one likes Andrew Cuomo. You have to understand that. Cuomo's politics are vindictive. He is famously short-tempered and long-memoried. People were afraid of endorsing anyone else because what happens when he wins? He's going to exact retribution. That's Andrew Cuomo.
But then when Momdami won, it wasn't just he squeaked by. He won in a landslide.
Momdami won the Democratic nomination for New York City mayor by 12 points, with the highest voter turnout in more than 35 years.
It shocked a lot of people.
You want to see the tiny ketchup bottle? Here.
Momdami and his supporters, but it really shocked Cuomo and his supporters.
Like a lot of powerful people in New York were like, we have to do everything in our power to make sure that this guy, an unknown entity that is potentially uncontrollable and very damaging to our interests, doesn't become a popular mayor.
What you see when there is such a threat to the establishment is everything gets thrown at the wall. There's a panic.
In the lead up to the primary, the pro-Cuomo super PAC, Fix the City, raised $25 million, a record for a New York City mayoral race, a large portion of which came from billionaires opposed to Momdami's platform.
So this is billionaires' rep?
Yes, this is an apartment I showed the other day. It's actually off market. This is a full floor, so
it's a full floor.
It's 8,000 square feet.
One apartment.
One apartment.
Eleonora Srugo is a luxury real estate agent specializing in high-end properties in New York City, giving her unique insight into the people putting millions against Momdami's bid for mayor.
What do you hear from them in terms of their concerns?
Yeah, look, the biggest concern that myself, my peers, a lot of my clients have with Momdami is ideological. I don't think it's practical.
In order to fund his progressive platform, Momdami had proposed a 2% tax on New Yorkers earning over $1 million per year, and he made it a point on his campaign to call out New York billionaires directly.
Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
If you can answer my question from earlier, it would help clear up a big confusion that the chat has. I'm a bit confused. It seems you have a lot of goats. As I understand, it means greatest of all time. Now, how can there be more than one goat? Dude, what are we doing, man? I'm done. I'm done with motherfuckers who keep asking me. Like, people that come in with, like, sincere sounding requests, I always entertain. And always, it's either bait or the dumbest question of all time.
I don't think that we should have billionaires.
New York is home to more billionaires than any other city in the world, and Momdami had pitted himself against them.
You are not going to tax them out of existence, but you can tax them out of wanting to spend time here.
The billionaire class understands that what happened in the primary is a revolt against them.
And that's why they're trying to go all out, game the system, use the rules that they have right now to throw as much money as they can into super PACs to stop Momdami from winning.
One of the largest donors to fix the city was the billionaire hedge fund manager, Bill Ackman. He took to social media in the days after Momdani's primary win, promising millions to anyone who would run against Momdani. We wanted to ask Bill why he believes he knows what's best for New Yorkers, so he attended an investor conference for a company he chairs.
And I'm curious, how much money have you put toward the New York City mayoral election? And should your wealth give you more power in a democracy?
I invested $500,000 with Andrew Cuomo, and it was not a very successful investment, certainly in the primary. And I think if a socialist, a pronounced socialist, a proud socialist, some would say communist based on some of his plans from a real estate perspective, were to become mayor of New York, it would have very negative signaling value for the city.
Ackman would go on to put another $1 million against Momdani, and other billionaires spent even more.
The biggest problems can't be solved by national governments alone.
This asshole literally spent $3.5 million in the last week of the campaign, and he spent all of that on the Hasan did 9/11 ads. Like, personally, in the last week for his super PAC, he put $3.5 million on the Hasan did 9/11 attack ads, bro. That's crazy. Yes. Come to the 9:30 club tonight? No, I can't. But congratulations on the unionization, chatter.
Michael Bloomberg, a former mayor of New York, donated over $9 million to a group backing Andrew Cuomo.
I think it's fair to understand that the billionaires think they own the city, that this is their city. When Bloomberg was mayor, he made an infamous comment that he saw New York City as a luxury product. And that's what he built.
The threat to them isn't a 2% tax hike. It's not a publicly owned grocery store. It's not a rent freeze. That's really not a threat to their way of life. It's not a threat to their businesses. It's not a threat to their success or finances. It is a threat to their political power.
Capital.
It's a threat to their political power if the population starts hoping again. That's what it is. They tried to kill hope. I don't often get super spiritual, especially when we talk about campaigns, but it is truly the primary purpose of all of the anti-Zohran Mamdani shit. Because if the working class can bring forth, through the democratic process, the working class can bring forth a fighter, a champion for their causes that says openly who the villains are, that doesn't shy away from calling millionaires and billionaires out, that doesn't shy away from calling out Israel, then all of a sudden more and more people are going to start feeling emboldened. And if he delivers on those promises, oh my God, dude. If he delivers on those promises and becomes a popular figure, that's a terrifying prospect.
Is threatened by Momdani and his ideas and the growing popularity of socialism. It's right there in the name. Do we want to live in a society that prioritizes capital and the earning of money and the profit motive at whatever cost? Or do we want to live in a society that prioritizes society?
This is who Zohran Mamdani embraces. He's not who you think he is.
As Mamdani's popularity increased, his opponents focused on portraying him as an extremist.
Globalize the Intifada, he won't condemn.
And mainstream media quickly adopted this framing.
So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the Intifada?
That's not language that I use.
The media forces the issue of Israel onto Momdami because they think that's a Momdami killer. And they have good reason to, based on past performance, right?
Cuomo is not asked about his sexual harassment scandal to the extent that Zohran Mamdani is asked about the phrase globalize the intifada, or whether he thinks Israel has a right to exist. And the effect of that is to manufacture an environment where those things are at all equivalent, or Zohran standing up for Palestine is worse than molesting your coworkers.
The dangerous rhetoric against Momdani spread well beyond New York, echoed by Republican lawmakers on radio shows.
What do you think is going to happen to all of you if Zohran Mamdani gets elected? I mean, it's going to be one big Sharia fest playing the call to prayer from the top of the Empire State Building.
How they're talking about him is so deeply dangerous.
I get messages that say the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim.
The man from Texas left him violent, threatening voicemails, and he was detained and arrested.
You're in Texas. Why are you this mad? This makes no sense.
That's scary, and it's rooted in a deep hate for Muslim people.
Mamdani's fellow Democratic lawmakers also launched attacks against him.
This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of...
Yeah, that shit was so fucking whack. I couldn't believe Kirsten Gillibrand, dude. They really broke new ground with this shit. James Clyburn just said that Mamdani's style of politics will work well in South Carolina primary voters. And he praised his campaign. We're ready for a socialist president. What the fuck? That's actually shocking. Because he is the Bernie killer. That's crazy. I wish that energy was around. I don't know if that's real.
Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews.
Anti-Muslim bigotry is so deeply embedded in American politics, just as anti-Palestinian racism is, that sometimes it can be invisible.
Bro, he's about to see the light of Allah. That's why. Jimothy Clyburn has, I have it on good authority that Jimothy Clyburn has actually reverted to Islam and has seen the light of Allah. He will be going to Jannah. That's what it is. That's what the fuck's going on.
And it comes from both sides of the aisle. It's not Republicans who have a monopoly on Islamophobia.
Both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are bigotries, but one has institutional permissibility and institutional permission is used as a way to advance your career, even Islamophobia. And the other, there is no institutional permission, and you will get tremendous pushback.
After Mamdani won the primary, many Democratic leaders did not endorse him.
Thanks, everybody.
Including Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer.
Going to be endorsing Zohran Mamdani?
What are your thoughts on Canada? I'll be meeting with him. We had a good conversation. He's run a good campaign. I'll be meeting with him.
Thank you.
House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, whose district resides in New York City, waited 122 days after the primary before finally giving his lukewarm approval. But outside the halls of Congress, another faction within the Democratic Party was demanding their leaders get behind Mamdani.
We're going to outlive a lot of the people in power. Thank God. The question is, are we going to become younger versions of who's currently there right now, or are we actually going to change things?
David Hogg founded Leaders We Deserve to challenge the incumbent Democrats he calls out of touch and ineffective.
I think DC and the establishment is full of a bunch of windsocks. They like to go whichever way they think the wind is blowing. Sometimes that will be in your direction.
David Hogg's transformation over this last year has been truly remarkable to observe. Actually, like he was doing like crazy shit back in the day, I feel like. And now, I don't know, now he's becoming this force in the party that I kind of like. Dark hog, punished hog. I mean, there was still obviously like the Deja Fox stuff, so it's not like I wouldn't say that this is I wouldn't say that he like the methods are all there, or he's like fully on board. But I mean, he got kicked out of the. He famously, for those of you who don't know, got kicked out of the fucking DNC, literally for advocating for the positive changes that we all would agree on, like, you know, primarying old seats, institutional Democrats with newer talent, and I'm on board with that. Okay, but so did you? No, the actual DNC, not the convention, chatters. He was elected. He was appointed as the VP of the DNC. He was the vice chair of the, like, straight up party, the Democratic Party.
Sometimes it will be against you, but there's a real lack of principle that drives a lot of this, because what it boils down to a lot of the time is people just thinking about, like, well, what's best for me? What do I need?
Because the Democratic Party is a corpse and has been for some time, and every time it attempts to rejuvenate itself, whether that's through Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, and by the way, one of the first things that he did after getting pushed out of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, was going and fundraising for Zohran Mamdani. His PAC put like $100 grand behind Zohran Mamdani, and he won big on that. But also, what are your personal thoughts on Chris Hedges? He is, I mean, regardless of whatever disagreements we might have ideologically, I have tremendous respect for Chris Hedges, and I always will. He is a major force in this country. You're talking about a man who literally has spent most of his time teaching prisoners, educating prisoners. You can't touch that. Yes, he's been on my stream. I mean, so has David Hogg. David Hogg has also been on my stream. He was on at the victory party.
Donnie, the Democratic Party seeks to essentially thwart the movement within the party to address the concerns of the base, because the Democratic Party doesn't function as a political party. The base is irrelevant.
The donors are the real constituents in an era of pretty much unlimited post-Citizens United donation. Why would it be otherwise? As a politician, you can make money forever. You can make generational wealth forever. That is why Schumer, Jeffries, Gillibrand, so many others, not just keep Mamdani at arm's length, but attack him. Because they recognize he upends this apple cart, he derails this gravy train.
Both Senator Chuck Schumer and House Leader Hakeem Jeffries have each received over $1.7 million from the pro-Israel lobbying group American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC.
They're really telling all those people who voted for Momdani, we don't care what you want. What game are they playing?
I mean, to appease AIPAC. the most successful foreign influence operation in American history. It's really not that complicated. People love to say these things, that everything's more complicated than it seems. Some things really are not. Yes. This is one of those things.
Barack Obama wrote about this in his memoir. If you criticize Israel too much, then expect to be faced by a well-funded opponent in your next election. So it's not some secret, you know. A former president of the United States has admitted to this kind of dynamic in Washington.
After the primary, Momdami's polling numbers continued to rise. With the opposition split between a crowded field of challengers, President Trump weighed in.
I think if you have more than one candidate, we've got ourselves a communist mayor in New York.
He was
President
right.
Trump is a native New Yorker.
It's happened.
He is obsessed with New York City, and he wants to have influence here, and he wants to continue to pull the strings as any way he can.
Reports circulated that the president was offering positions in his administration for Adams and Sliwa to drop out.
And we're not going to let somebody get into office and squander the taxpayer money from this country.
On September 28, 2025, the sitting mayor, Eric Adams, withdrew from the race.
That's why I'm here today to endorse Andrew Cuomo.
Cuomo is not a strong candidate. That is why I hesitate to use the word support. I believe that he is the better choice for the next 4 years.
Despite losing the primary, a string of past scandals, and his general inability to campaign effectively, Cuomo still continued to draw donations from billionaires and endorsements from politicians across the aisle.
It is a coalition of class interests. It is bipartisan, and it is deeply entrenched, and it is afraid of Zoran Momdani, and it should be afraid of Zoran Momdani.
As the general election approached, the pressure against Momdani intensified.
The media attention for this race far exceeds what a normal mayoral race gets. It really speaks to the times about what this race represents.
Momdani seemed to moderate on key issues in his campaign, including one of his main rallying cries, a 2% tax increase for New Yorkers who earn over $1 million a year.
If you could get the money and funding elsewhere, would you drop the call for the tax increase?
Absolutely. The most important thing is funding these agenda items.
And he walked back statements that had earned him the support of progressives during the primary.
He's told you what he thinks. He thinks the police are racist, wicked, corrupt.
Those are tweets which I have apologized for to New Yorkers and police officers directly.
He started moderating a whole lot his positions on the NYPD. I'm sure there were a lot of smart people whispering in his ear.
Yeah. As far as defund the police, that was not a sidestep or moderation. But yes, as far as like saying the police are fucking racist, yes, he did back away from that. That, in my estimation, was for governance. That wasn't to win the election. I think he had the election wrapped up. I think that was for governance. The NYPD will be one of the biggest hurdles for Zoran Momdani to overcome. It will be impossible to deal with. It's gonna be so difficult. In spite of his like you know, the NYPD is not racist. I'm sorry for saying that type shit that he said. Okay? Why though? Genuine question. Because the NYPD is one of the most powerful militaries on the planet. And the NYPD, especially in New York, is one of the most powerful forces in politics. Guys, the NYPD literally kidnapped Bill de Blasio, former mayor of New York's trans child, and doxed them on the timeline. What are you fucking talking about? They are insane. Like, it's not... they are this uncontrollable beast. Every mayor has had to deal with the NYPD. Every New York mayor has had to basically be at the mercy of the NYPD. Friend of the show, Christian had a great take on this.
Momdami might be the funniest motherfucker of all time, and some of you guys might owe me an apology because I just made a serious video on my main account about him appointing Lina Khan. But I remember a few months back, I think like a little bit after the primaries, when he met with like billionaires and business leaders, and people were like, see Christian, he's just gonna capitulate. That's all he ever did. See, that's all it's about. He's gonna blah, 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 blah. All right? And then he puts Lina Khan on. That's the equivalent of meeting up with Lex Luthor and then popping out with Superman the next day. Like, it's the funniest thing possible. He basically popped out the day after the election and was like, yeah, man, if you can afford a Rolls Royce, it's about to get real strict around here, cuz.
Yeah, Lina Khan is a #1 op for the billionaires, straight up. If Momdami accomplishes none of his agenda but manages to weaken the NYPD and the Benevolent Association, it would be one of the greatest accomplishments in recent decades. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he has an easier shot at fucking... He has an easier shot. Like, look at this. Comptroller Brad Lander's new dashboard tracks city claims and settlements. City paid nearly $2 billion settlements last fiscal year. $2 billion. Yeah, this is what the NYPD did to de Blasio. A New York police union came after the mayor's daughter. Think about that. NYPD Sergeants Union tweets and deletes Chiara de Blasio's arrest report. How can the NYPD protect the city of New York from rioting anarchists when the mayor's object-throwing daughter is one of them? Now we know why he's forbidding mounted units to be mobilized and keeping the NYPD from doing their jobs. That fucking image right there has like their address and shit. It's crazy. Why did Biden appoint her as the FTC chair? What do you mean? The reason why Biden appointed her as the FTC chair is the same reason why Bernie Sanders was literally, up until the very last moment, clinging on to Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden was Mr. Junior partner in the coalition with the left flank of the party. Elizabeth Warren straight up, I think Elizabeth Warren straight up was like, all right, I won't be VP, but at least like put Lina Khan in there. I think you guys forget, like I've talked about Biden's legacy, like right-wing, pre-turn to the right, like pre-pivot to the right on immigration, pre-October 7. Biden had a uniquely progressive legacy. The major issue for Biden was that he got torpedoed by the rotating villains in his own coalition, okay? And he couldn't whip them. He couldn't use the bully pulpit to command the attention of the masses and show them that, like, he was actually pushing for marginal change. It's true. And now all of that is gone. Obviously, he will be remembered forever as the butcher of Gaza, a genocide heir. Now, it's not saying much. It's not saying much to say Biden is one of the more progressive, was one of the more progressive presidents. It's not saying much at all, because it's more so damning to consider how not progressive other leadership has been. Okay? So there was an unimaginably low bar, and he like cleared it sometimes and failed to clear it in other times. But yeah, there's some good there. It's ironic because I literally probably defended Biden's progressive legislation, or his like marginal, incrementally progressive legislative agenda, more than the fucking media did. I rode for Biden. You forget when he pulled out of Afghanistan. I was Mr. Joe Brandon is my GOAT. Do not forget that. I call balls and strikes. It feels like a lifetime ago because this is before I did NATO and this is before all of those other things. Yeah, his NLRB was doing decent work too. But, well, you know, it's over. All of that is in the fucking rear view. Yeah, people forget that the reason Obama picked Biden specifically as VP was because he was essentially a Republican when it came to his voting record, from supporting every ward along upholding corporate interests and ties to segregationists in the past. It was the only way Obama could win. Funnily enough, when Biden announced he was running against Obama for the Democratic ticket in 2007, on the very first day of his campaign, he made a racist remark towards Obama. Later on, John McCain defended him as being a good man and not an Arab. This aspect of his identity weighed heavily on his chances of gaining legitimacy and a proper chance at the presidency initially, as much as he later became the poster boy of neoliberal, neo-imperialism, and feel-good post-race America. He had everything to consolidate his images in the eyes of white America. Upholding corporate interests are not a progressive economic legacy. I'm confused about your position. No, everyone upholds corporate interests. When you're the president, you, one, always uphold corporate interests, and two, you always do war, okay? Endless amounts of war. So obviously, you have to grade on a curve. And when you're grading him on a curve, he was actually more progressive than most other contemporary presidents in the United States of America. That is, of course, not going to ever be his legacy, because his push for modest incremental reforms was, one, too little too late, and two, destroyed by the moderate wing in his own party, the centrist Democrats that like actively destroyed his agenda every fucking step of the way, and his inability to whip them back in his inability to whip them back in line was a massive failure. His inability to communicate the accomplishments that they put forward, no matter how marginal, was a massive failure. If Biden passed H.R. 1 and B, we would be living in a radically different country. Yes, those bills were lib, but they were fundamental reforms. He's a bad president because he gave up on the marginal good things he himself proposed. Yes. First 100-day immigration agenda, remember that? He was going to offer amnesty. He was going to set up the conditions for amnesty for migrants living on U.S. soil. What happened? He dropped all that shit. It's just sad to see because, like, Biden was so fucking old, so weak, and so feeble. And the juxtaposition between Biden and Donald Trump, who is also old, but is manic and unforgiving and uncompromising and unyielding, is very clear. Biden had decent policy ideas, like the Biden team, rather, designed decent policies, and he just could not get it done. He couldn't move it across the fucking finish line. No matter what. There was a million different reasons for it, obviously, but there is a share of responsibility here for Biden's own inability to communicate his desires, communicate his agenda, and push it across the finish line. He did not whip the votes. He didn't do half the shit that Donald Trump does. When Donald Trump has any sort of issues with the Republican Party, he just fucking calls them into the White House, right? And he'll be like, I will fuck you up. Do you want death threats from the most psychotic people in this country? No? Okay, then shut the fuck up. You're doing my bidding. Like, think about how much leeway Donald Trump has to break the system. If Biden was even a fraction as aggressive, he probably could have gotten a lot done. It's important to recognize those mistakes, by the way, in order not to repeat them, because there is no way we can have an old guard that is incapable of utilizing, or rather weaponizing, the bully pulpit, okay? We cannot do that. That cannot happen ever again.
That was good politics. But what it conceals is that the NYPD will stop at nothing to destroy Zohran Mamdani's mayoralty.
The assemblyman will not denounce Hamas.
I said that I would discourage this language that I do not.
Damn, they didn't put the assemblyman would not discourage or would not condemn Hasan Piker.
The choice to moderate on some of these issues is confusing. Is it just that he is under so much pressure, or is it something bigger than that? Does he actually think to win he needs to moderate, when it was his choice not to moderate that made people have such confidence in him and his integrity?
That's how I felt too. I agree with that.
I'm afraid, frankly, to know the answer.
Though a different candidate than when he started his campaign, Momdami won.
On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City.
His election represents a monumental shift in New York politics, the Democratic Party, and how Americans feel about the state of Israel.
The people lining up against Zohran Mamdani tried to make this mayoral election a referendum on anti-Zionism being anti-Semitism, and then failing, and then losing that massively. That is a sea change in New York City.
Yeah. That's a sea change in New York City. It's a sea change in American politics. And it's one that the Democrats are fucking terrified of addressing. Okay? They are so scared of touching it. They're so scared of addressing it. It blows my fucking mind. It is the easiest lock of all time. Okay? It is the easiest way to insta-lock a tremendous amount of goodwill. You earn so much goodwill if you just call out the easiest thing to call out, really, especially at this stage. Like, there is so much room to call out Israel, and Democrats are still failing to do so. It's like, it's mind-boggling. It blows my mind. What more do you need to hear? What more do you need to see? You have a Muslim socialist mayor who is an anti-Zionist in New York. Okay? I keep thinking about this Masterson tweet. It's true. If Zohran had lost the election, the entire Democrat Party would have used it as a mandate to take a harder turn to the right. Yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. I can't. It makes me so mad.
Netanyahu's defense team, but then somebody like Mamdani comes up, and that's not just symbolic. That shows that there's something changing in America. There's something changing in the electorate, that this is a bigger story than just New York. There's this desire for something more. There's this desire for a different kind of politics.
While billionaires in the U.S. increasingly use their wealth to influence politics, Mamdani's win pushes back on the idea that elections are for sale.
We live in New York, in capital's seat of power.
If you told me 3 years ago that the Dem base would be more anti-Zionist than Bernie at times, I'd call you insane, but that's the reality. Yep. That is precisely what's going on.
This is the financial capital of the world. This is a place that the Bill Ackmans and the like feel like is theirs by right. In an age of oligarchy, this is the most important place that those oligarchs have to rule. Except that there's millions of us, and there's vanishingly few of them.
And it may offer a lesson to Democratic Party leaders if they choose to learn from it.
I want to hold your hand when I say this. Democrats do not care. There is no relationship between what people want and what the Democratic Party is willing to advance. And there are no consequences for their lack of Democratic representation because there's always the Republican Party and they're always worse.
It stopped functioning as a party a long time ago, but it's assiduously loyal to its donors because the hierarchy of the party, if you actually created a democratic system, the hierarchy of the party wouldn't exist. And they have decided that they will keep their first-class cabins on the ship as it sinks.
Chris Hedges has such a way with words, man. It's crazy.